Hey y'all, it's your girl Gemini Jazz with House of Chiron, and we are back with another episode of Galactic Gossip. So, this week we have some really liberating energy to discuss. So, we've been having like all of this tension and all of this aggression since the beginning of 2021 that we've been like feeling like we need to break free from, we need to break through, and the breakthrough is now here. So, without further ado, I just would like to say thank you for tuning in. And if you have not yet done so, please subscribe to the channel, turn on that little bell button wherever it's at on whatever side, and you will get notifications every time I upload a video. So thank you all for being here once again. And before we dive into this week's forecast, I have a few quick announcements. First and foremost, we still have the tickets for the Trauma Conscious Full Moon Healing Circle. So the yoga intensive energy that we will be really navigating through, using some somatic therapy as well, talking about the Virgo full moon, all of that. Last month's event was phenomenal. It was a wonderful turnout, and thank you all for whoever came and enjoyed yourself and shared your, vulnerable moments and your experiences during that full moon healing circle. Thank you all once again. And if you have not registered for that, if you have not gotten your tickets, go ahead and do so. The description for that and all the links in the description box below. So that's all I have for this week as far as announcements. So let's just dive right on into this week's energy. So, quick overview. We have Mercury finally stationing direct. We also have the highlight of this week, which is Saturn that is still in Aquarius and it's making that square to Uranus and Taurus. So that's happening towards the middle of this week as well. So we have those two major energies that are kind of playing off of each other. But also we have just little things that are coming up. So first and foremost, on the 14th, we have Mercury that is in retrograde in Aquarius, making a conjunction to Jupiter that is in Aquarius. So this is happening at 13 degrees. Mercury meets Jupiter, and it's more so like the intellect meets opportunity. So it's like an abundance of optimism and happy thoughts coming up and all of these things. And we might even receive some great news about travel plans or some educational pursuit that we have been really navigating or pursuing at this time. This is a lot of opportunities for group activity as well. And, we can see things, we can see fortune coming in many different avenues and many different ways because, it's Jupiter, it's abundance, it's fortune, it's opportunities. And with it being in a conjunction to Mercury in Aquarius, it's all about the collective, the humanitarianism. And so us seeing opportunities for abundance and opportunities for fortune in a different light, having different perceptions of these things. That's what we are going to be feeling on the 14th, which is really good energy considering it's Valentine's Day if you celebrate that. And so this is going to be a time where you feel generous and you're going to have a lot of opportunities to remain open-minded and be introduced to different ways of seeing things and different ways of being and experiencing things. Also, this is really great for, social groups and being in group environments, but also for us to think outside of the box, innovative ways of thinking that can come into mind, especially with this retrograde. We have been receiving lots of opportunities, lots of ideas, and reviewing and revising these things. And so now with Mercury coming into this conjunction with Jupiter, we're going to be receiving more insight and more knowledge and more opportunity to actually see things differently and having different ideas, because, Aquarius is, innovative and they're different. They're about originality and breaking free from the status quo, doing stuff different, finding a new way of doing some things, finding your own new tradition, whatever that looks like for you. So this also could be some travel plans coming up and, just kind of refining our day-to-day routines and wanting things to come out in a more favorable outcome. So nothing is set in stone, but this is more so like seeing what could be set in stone. So with Mercury being in retrograde, it's still not an ideal time to sign contracts or to set anything in stone, but just kind of get the plans and the details in order, and using that genius mind that Aquarius has and that Uranus energy that we have going on right now to really find out and talk about our future plans and the best ways to go by them. Okay, especially with your loved ones and your family, your friends, people that are like-minded. So it's going to be really showing us our ability to obtain like our material gains and building that solid foundation that we seek for the future. So let's talk about this major energy that we have. We have Saturn in Aquarius, and it's going to be squaring up with Uranus and Taurus at 7 degrees. So Saturn, it represents authority, it represents structure, fears, limitations. It's the work required in order to change all of these Saturnian aspects, right? That's highlighted during this time. So we could be feeling very oppressed and limited on what it is that we want to build and create. And now, with it being in Aquarius, we want to rebel against it. We want to rebel against the status quo, what has been set, these rules, these regulations, the authority figures, and these positions of power, these different entities that's kind of like holding us back. So this is like a tower moment in our lives to where we become resistant, right? And either we're going to resist change, or we're going to fight against not changing. So we're going to gravitate more towards change. So in addition to us feeling blocked and limited, towards creating our lifelong results and lifelong dreams and whatnot, we also have to take into consideration that this is that Saturn energy. So it's showing us what needs to be changed. It's showing us how we have been limiting ourselves, where our fears are. And these fears are more like conditioning fears, things that have been implanted in us that are not of us, and why we have not been able to do things for ourselves on like our fullest potential. And so if we are expecting things to be like a quick, swift turnaround, something to instantly happen, it's going to provide even more limitation, because Saturn wants us to do the work. Saturn wants us to build slow with progression, making sure that it's a solid foundation, making sure that it's something that's going to be long lasting, because that is Saturn. Saturn provides long lasting lifetime gifts of abundance if you do the work. So it might provoke, some frustration and, feeling a little anxious energy, especially with that Mercury energy that we have here. But if you maintain doing the work, and if you are not resistant to change, then you will see the building and the manifestations of this to come throughout this year and moving on into 2022. So this energy is it's the first of the 3 times that we will have this square off with Saturn and Uranus. So we have it now on the 17th, and then we will get another visitation of this in June, and then the last cycle of it will be in December. So the last time that this energy actually showed up for us was in 1999 to 2000. Now, during this time, let's think politics. What happened during politics? The Roth IRA was introduced. Bill Gates hit $1 billion in his assets and fortune. And then this is during the time of the Bill Clinton impeachment. So all of these things were happening during this time. But the difference is that we now have Saturn in Aquarius squaring Uranus in Taurus, whereas back then it was Saturn in Taurus squaring Uranus in Aquarius. So it's on the complete opposite end of it. So these things is going to bring a complete shift and a change in our financial system, as well as like the government structures. And even if we even have like a social system at all, social class system, by the end of it, we might not even have that. And we'll see the manifestations and the outcome of this over the next few years. But this is the highlight and the start of that energy of change within society, because Aquarius is about the humanitarian, the human good for all. So, if it's not going to benefit the collective encompassing all of us, then it's not going to stand, it's going to crumble. So this cycle actually happens every 22 years. And so um it's not the same. 22 years ago, nothing is the same as it was 22 years ago. So it's going to be a much more different manifestation or outcome of this energy, especially with it being in this opposite signs than it was 22 years ago. And so it's just going to be illuminating some things, first and foremost, where the change is needed, not only in our society, but within ourselves. How are we adding to this collective confusion? How are we adding to what is resistant and holding us back? And then it's showing us these things so that way we can show up and make that change. So if we do not do the changes, like right now, it's going to be coming up subtly, right? Like, hey, this is what needs to happen. This is where you need to change. Some things need to shift in your life. And if we are resistant to that change, then we get another visitation of it in June. And it's not going to be as pleasurable. It's not going to be as easy. It's not going to be as subtle. So June comes around, then you're going to get another visitation of it in December. And if you are resistant and you have not done your change or made a conscious effort to set some plans in order to change, then you're going to get this energy yet again, and it's not going to be the same. It's going to be amplification each time it comes around. Make the change now. Do not be resistant to change. It could be manifesting in your work environment, or in the career of work, or within the career of your finances. It could be manifesting in different realms of your life. It could even be something that's mundane as your day-to-day routines, your health, something like that. So there needs to be some type of change implemented. You need to make some type of action, take action, make a plan, and actually set it in stone to move through it. And if you are not, then there is going to basically give you what it is, the manifestation of you not doing that work. So that's the major energy of this week. On top of us moving into Pisces season, which is going to be shifting our focus, because the sun, when it moves into a different sign, it shifts our focus. And with it being in Pisces, it's more spiritual, it's more introspective, it's more sensual, it's more creative. So we're going to be really focusing on our desires, our subconscious desires. Also our health in a sense, as well as our spirituality. And then right after that, after the 18th onto the 20th, Mercury in Aquarius stations direct at 11 degrees. So all the plans and the opportunities that we have been receiving and making and refining and building on during Mercury retrograde, it's going to bring a culmination of these things. So at first, when Mercury stations direct, we're going to feel like, hey, let's just go. Let's get these things going. Let's plan, let's go, let's action, let's move. No, because Mercury will still be in a shadow phase until March 12th. So it's gaining its momentum up until then. And so it's not an ideal time to quickly initiate things like have this go movement. Gradually work your way into it. So at first, we're going to want to get things going, but this energy is so electric and so potent. Our brains and our thoughts are going to be scattered and all over the place, kind of chaotic, especially because it's in Aquarius, and Aquarius is electric. And then we have the energy with Uranus and Taurus. So it's really not an ideal time to actually implement any of these things right off the bat, but just take your time with doing it. You're going to feel some limitations and some blockages, and that's happening for a reason. It's not an ideal time to just immediately go once Mercury stations direct. Give it time to build its momentum for things to move. But of course, things will move. Once March comes, we will have that momentum, especially the week after the 20th. So that week starting the 21st, 22nd, that week, we will be able to start implementing things slowly but surely. And it'll get easier. But we are prone to having like overactive thinking, over excessive thoughts, and anxiety could come from this. And so really tapping into your nervous system and breathing and taking your time and doing some different grounding methods during that week is really great. If you sign up for the Trauma Conscious Full Moon Healing Circle, so get that going. So, and all of this is really culminating and coming to a point where we have our full moon in Virgo at the end of the month on the 27th. So we'll talk about that more next week. But Just make sure that you are not moving too quickly. Make sure you are processing your thought and make sure you are open to change. If you have been acting erratically and just impulsively, making quick and irrational decisions, and just um, trying to, you know, push your own will in a sense without consideration of everyone involved, then that is something that will backfire. So it's very important that you take your time to process what's happening. And, you know, it's okay to have your own agenda and your own intentions for things, but just make sure that you're not pushing your agenda against everyone else's will, and that you are actually flowing with the way that things are going, and that you are staying in your own lane, being your own individual self, but what is going to collectively benefit everyone involved. So that is a highlighted theme of this week. And, you know, I really feel like moving into March, what I do know is that the energy is much more beneficial for us to implement things and to start something new. Of course, with the start of spring coming in March, you know, that's when new things always blossom. So, House of Chiron does have some wonderful new things coming in March, so y'all just stay tuned. And that's all that I have for Galactic Gossip. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful week. And yeah, bye.